as well.
I was gonna say it would make me wonder: do you go towards the Varus or the Ashe? Usually they're paired together. I wonder if Weibo will take the Ashe away and try and pair that with something else. Other things that jump out to me is obviously the Nico being open. If the Talia is going to be banned and you want something else that can give a lot of agency, you can go towards the Nico yourself. But then there's also the argument of taking away the Azir, right? Because I definitely think Scout last year had so many crazy moments on the Azir. Oh my god, we actually get it. Light bringing out the Draven.
All right, it's something we've seen from Light before, but I love this in the context of what we just talked about with the bans, right? Talking about late game, talking about not having the Lucian or the Kalista down bot. Just whips out the Draven. We're going aggressive down there, and Rel open and available. That could go in the jungle, or that could go down for Chris to set up for this Draven.
Yeah, and I especially love the fact that it's coming from Light, because, you know, he comes from Snake, and Snake is Crystal as their AD carry, who I still think of as like one of the OG Draven players. So we know we're going to get a lot of fighting, or at least potential for fighting to come through. The Ashe lock-in would definitely make a lot of sense. You're going to have to be very careful about the all-in kill threat that would come from Weibo's bot side. And it's going to make it even more important for junglers to be able to keep up and play around this lane. You know, when going up against things like Varus Ashe, you could have a great time and the enemy jungle never comes. Or as Weibo, it could be like when we had Ultra Prime playing the Rammus the other day, and no jungle ever comes bot side, and you're like, hey, we're playing up against this double range. Like, can we blow some summoners and make their life hard, please?
I mean, look, all I'm saying is there's still space for Rammus in this draft. You've got the Draven. send the Rel into the jungle. Let's see the crisp Rammus support. I'm here for it. Yeah, well,
I love it, please.
Oh my goodness. Xiaohu, he does not believe in statistics. Not even a rookie can win with this pick in the LPL right now. It is 0-12 in the league so far, I believe. We'll see if Xiaohu can change that statistic. Certainly a great team fight pick.
Yeah, I'd expect the Azir to go away now. LNG's comp just really sets up fantastically for like Siege, being able to play from that range, having that Ember's Divide to be able to dissuade anyone else from coming in. So I like taking out more long-range options. I wonder if maybe even if the Corki is off the cards too, even if Orianna would have a fine laning phase into Corki himself, he would just thematically fit LNG's comp quite well.
Yeah, we'll see. If the Corki does get removed, you could, like you say, go absolutely full poke lethality Varus, go for the Corki in the mid lane. There are other options for mid lane champions that could fulfill a poke role, but it's going to be the LeBlanc, in fact, which, you know, AD LeBlanc certainly ticks that box off, that the heavy poke damage. Whether you want to go AD or AP, I don't know, with the two AD carries in the bottom lane. But regardless, it's taken off, as well as the Nautilus.
Yeah, so now Weibo going to be looking at potential support options, assuming they keep Rel in the jungle. I mean, I was going to say, now with things like Nautilus off the board, I wonder if Chris would be willing to lean into the likes of a Blitzcrank or something a little bit more, you know, we could say hot or cold, right? That would be very depending on if he's able to hit those abilities. But for now, just going to lean into the Rumble, something that has been very hit or miss, right? We've had some teams first picking this champion, and obviously a lot of bans thrown out, but still a lot of other times just going completely through draft. But Weibo's comp is so bursty so far. I'd expect LNG to probably want to look and throw another tank up in topside. Sure, it'll have, you know, a hard time in the laning phase, but hell, both Udyr, Cassante still on the table, and just make it harder for Weibo to be able to shred past your front line.
Yeah, we'll see how this Rumble pick is going to work and what the answer is going to be. The Akali locked in for Scout, though. Or I'm assuming it's for Scout. Maybe it's an answer to the Rumble, but I would assume that's going to the mid lane here.
Yep.
And there we go. I think we all knew what was going to come here. It is going to be the Udyr. Rumble has been picked as a pseudo answer to the Udyr, but it's, generally speaking, not exactly a counter. It's more like, I can clear waves too.
I was going to say, like, let's be honest. Pretty much all like counters top lane these days are, I can also clear the waves that you can clear. So yeah. LNG going to have that. They're now going to have this kind of like double meat shield to be able to protect Gala and Mark in that bot lane, and a lot going to be on Scout and what he's able to do in these team fights, putting threat on. I mentioned the Blitz earlier. I feel like it's what makes most sense. And we get
crispy. It. And there we have it. The Blitzcrank locked in for Crisp. And that's just always exciting, isn't it? Draven Blitzcrank down in the bottom side up against double AD carries. Like you say, though, this is feast or famine for the bottom lane of Weibo, because you get a couple of good hooks in, you get light, some of those cash-ins on his passive, you're going to take over the game. However, the second you miss a hook as Crisp, you're going to get chased back under your tower, and that's if you survive. Like, this is going to be brutal if Crisp is not on point with the skill shots.
Yeah, and like I said, both junglers, I think, really going to have to dedicate a lot of focus around that bot side for LNG, just about defending what should be a very strong and aggressive 2v2 lane that can whittle them down over time. And obviously for XiaoHao, it's about looking for those 3v3s and trying to make sure that the Blitzcrank is in positions where he can just more easily land these hooks. So this one's not going to be like the last game, I expect, whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. One thing I will say, I just have a little look at the old statistics on Crisp, and unfortunately, I've got some terrible news. Crisp's scoreline on Blitzcrank over the years is he's played 7 games. He's won 1 of them. He's 1 for 6 on the Blitzcrank so far, which is not ideal, but we'll see if he can pad those statistics a little bit today.
He has a chance to literally win twice, double the amount of games that he's won. Like, this is a great opportunity for Crisp.
It certainly is. We'll see if he can find his hooks, or whether or not this Varus Ashe bot lane is just going to bully like crazy. This is the kind of bot lane that we've been seeing banned permanently. Now we get to see it in action as we head into LNG's arena for LNG versus Weibo.
Well, sadly, we've missed the Gyos. It's been very hit or miss, whether we get in time to be able to hear them. I'm going to speculate that the Weibo Gyos were on point, though. Especially for a Draven.
I would assume the LNG ones would be as well. It's their arena. Oh, boy. We're on a ward, and we're walking right into a 5-stack with a Blitzcrank. Zika going to be the first one in. He's already one-shot. Not even Udyr can survive that. I don't know if Crisp used his hook already. I assume he did, just to keep Zika in. There we go, first blood, and it goes on to Light.
Yeah, Light now. We can see right there, 492 gold in his pocket. Gonna be able to go get that longsword, now have even more power. There's gonna be Ignite, at least for these first, few minutes of the 2v2, so I guess, if we could try and paint a silver lining in some way, like, all right, I guess you don't have to worry about that from the all-in options, but...
I mean, the cooldown's already a quarter gone as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that much of a silver lining. Gala and Mark, at least off of the reset from Light, will be able to gain control of the lane to start with, but a single hook will change all of that. No, it won't. A single hook will remove any pressure that Weibo potentially had to get back in.
I'm also curious to see what build Light goes. Like, a lot of Dravens still do go things like Essence Reaver first and going to crit. Obviously, you have like the Ghost Blade variant and just going closer towards lethality, getting opportunity, which is also really nice. Let him just keep running people down as Draven. So getting to see what Light opts into when he is like a player we have that plays Draven, but not one of our like big Draven mains, I think will be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm leaning towards the Essence Reaver build right here, just because WeiWei and Zika are going to get so tanky later on. Whether if you go full lethality, for snowballing, lethality definitely going to be the option. We're in trouble in the bottom lane here. Crisp and Light still level 1 right now, and that's a huge wave that's crashing. WeiWei is behind them now. Light level 2. I'll make him slightly safer. The Hail of Blades is enough to dissuade the aggression, but that felt real dicey for a second.
Yeah, you could tell that Weibo knew that a play was going to come through from the fact that XiaoHao cleared those top 3 camps and went for the reset, but the timing just wasn't there, especially with the fact that Light and Crisp not able to start on the wave, and now we're really going to see the punishment coming out through the Ashe Varus, which is something I'm kind of welcoming, because just to keep on the bot lane real quick, just because funnily enough, even when either of these champs are up, we actually don't see them picked all that often.
No, that's true. We've not seen that much of it. We've just seen a lot of bans of it. I feel like a lot of teams are just kind of scared of the idea of it, as opposed to... I mean, it must have been played a lot in scrims, right? This must be a scrim Terra duo. But
there's a lot of games where it's just, like, there's been, I guess, not a lot of games, but there have been memorable games where, like, this pair have just gone through draft. I guess kind of like games how Rumble just goes through draft. It's very interesting to see, like, I guess think about the mindset of LPL teams, because it also could go down to what you're saying in just a different light of, even when it's open, since it's always banned in scrims, we haven't really gotten to play it. So are we going to play it on stage versus whatever these other options are that we've spent a lot of time on? And a lot of times the answer could be no.
That's the question. XiaoHao clearing some vision around the bottom side. I feel like at this point, with the way that the game is played right now, with the fact that every single level 3, both junglers are down in the bottom lane, we should start calling it the Bot-tagon. You know, like the Octagon from MMA, except it's bot lane. Like 3v3 scrap brawl every single game, and then we just go back to kind of chilling for the rest of it.
That really feels like where... I mean, one thing we know is going to happen for sure is like, okay, we're going to have both teams having a 3v3 standoff somewhere between like 2.5 and 4 minutes. I guess the question is, does either team try to like build off that, or do then we go to like the break room, have coffee, have snacks, and then, you know, we come back like 2 or 3 minutes later?
I tell you what, it's the weigh-in, you know? Sometimes they come in game number 1 and they kind of just do their weigh-in. They kind of posture around each other, maybe talk a bit of smack. Game number 2, it's the Bot-tagon. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue, does it? I don't know, it's hard to say, the Bot-tagon.
It's, you know, I can tell, even not saying myself, Bot-tagon. Yeah, there it is. It's going to be hard to say, but hearing someone else say it is like surprisingly pleasing. Like it sounds, it sounds
there's
correct.
a C that's missing, though. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We're missing a consonant that I just can't seem to squeeze in. We'll return on it. We'll work on the Bot-tagon. Oh, Shockwave in the mid lane. Scout hitting level 6, though, as the Shockwave went off, and that is going to be enough. Xiaohu not to try and push any further, but just trying to make sure he maintains the control of the mid lane that he's got so far. In fact, 15 CS lead there, but obviously a couple of those minions will be picked up now by Scout. Not a bad little start from Weibo. They're 1,000 or 1,500 gold ahead right now.
I am a bit surprised we didn't see anything else come out of the fact when they knew that they were doing grubs. Xiaohu was just coming out from base at that time, so there wasn't a great window. But now you've set up for WeiWei to be able to get back on the map, and I mean, hell, there was potential to be found for either some aggression to be found through bot here or mid, but didn't even opt into trying for anything. He's just going to keep clearing efficiently, picking up his camps. His whole top side still up if he wants to make his way up there. And the one thing about when Rumble is on the Rift, in my mind, there's always some opportunity to go for the gank there with how immobile he is. But CDZ also is running the Ghost to try to be able to escape those dicier situations.
Yeah, I feel like the presence of Udyr top lane has increased the amount of Ghost we see top lane dramatically.
Yeah.
Like, historically, how many Rumbles have you seen run Ghost until this year? Very, very few. But Udyr changes all of that. You got to be able to space, because Flash will not get you away.
No, I agree. And it's kind of funny how, like, then having the Ghost, having the bit of the shorter cooldown versus Flash, like, having the utility, how that can impact moving around the map, or especially, like, flanking in team fights. We're going to see what Zika can do with that one later on. Is Weibo completely fine to just keep playing out through the isolated laning phases with the matchups that they have. It's a bit sad that it seems like Crisp hasn't been able to connect a hook yet, from the fact that Gala and Mark have their summoners and are not dead. If they have gotten hooked and have kept all that, that is quite impressive, though.
And full HP. Really impressive stuff if they've been hooked.
Or I guess it'd be unimpressive on Crisp's part.
There's always that dichotomy, isn't there? But, you know, on the commentary desk, I try and lean on the side of impressive as opposed to focusing on the unimpressive.
I
feel like we would get into a real negative cast if we tried to focus on that.
Now LNG trying to put more pressure and allow for Mark and Gala to step forward by clearing out that Tri Brush, but I love it. Xiaohu's already here, and Xiaohu is actually 6, unlike WeiWei.
Here we go. The Bot-tagon kicks in again. But it was just another way in. It was just another way in the end. Gala and Mark will be able to crush the wave. And Light will pick all of this juicy CS up. So, fine for Weibo in the end. Is it fine for LNG, though? Gala, I think, realizes that Chris might know something. Goes into the next brush. Yeah, I'd go under the tower, mate. They actually don't get to go for their reset.
No, not going to be able to go for it. And look at the minimap. XiaoHao still staying in the area. Probably going to look for a potential lane gank if they stay here, or just making sure they can get this wave pushed in themselves. And funnily enough, once again, not a whole lot gained by either team. WeiWei more than happy just to move up and try and catch up in terms of the experience department. Will hit level 6 off this crab, but sad that XiaoHao wasn't able to make something happen with that advantage they picked up in terms of experience.
Yeah, unfortunate they missed that window. Minor CS lead in jungle and mid, and obviously the kill down bot, but that's basically all we're talking about so far this game. Weibo with an absolutely minuscule advantage. They're 1,000 gold up, but that's about all she wrote for now. Grub spawning in 15 seconds, though. And you can see a presence there already from Weibo. It was LNG that grabbed the first 3. Weibo not willing to let them get any more.
Now, nice pivot as well. Now everyone actually being in around the mid lane. LNG now have really good tools to make things happen and set up potential picks, right? Mark's arrow is online. Scout would very easily be able to follow up.
Yeah, Crisp hoping somebody walks nearby, but you know LNG have considered the possibility that Crisp is in the area. I mean, they sent Mark up as well. XiaoHao gonna get the stun onto WeiWei. Are we gonna commit to anything here? Xiaohu has his shockwave, and I think WeiWei is not pleased about where everyone is on the map right now. Mark's moved down to the bottom side, and that is going to open up XiaoHao to go for these grubs.
Still, you can see the rest of LNG, right? Moving down. I'd especially love to see WeiWei move into enemy jungle and start getting some of that vision there, take away some of these camps before Weibo can really make a pivot. I like the respect coming out from Light as well. You can see on the minimap, he is going the safe way around his whole jungle. He's not going to give up his life, but Chris don't care.
Less afraid of the potential dangers of the jungle. WeiWei, you got to be a little cautious. As soon as you head towards that tower, it gets dangerous. Ult coming out from Light just to try and soak up some of that CS. I wasn't sure when Light was in the mid lane and you could see Xiaohu on the grubs and the wave was slowly pushing in. I wasn't sure if we would see Xiaohu just TP down, honestly, to try and grab that wave, but deciding to hold the summoner, and it will just be Light managing to grab it in the end, helping DPS this Gromp down as well. As they look towards this bottom lane again. WeiWei toying with the idea of a dive, but XiaoHao is here. But this is going to be another plate for Gala and Mark. Stun against the wall. Crisp is low. WeiWei just gets out with it. Xiaohu now TPing into the play, but the stun is perfect. It saves Gala's life. XiaoHao flashing forwards, gets the stun. Magnustorm back in and a shockwave on top, and that's a cash-in for the Draven.
I cannot believe that Weibo were actually able to pick something up there. It looked like they were so panicked of like, guys, we are, past 10 minutes. We're falling behind in the 2v2. They're gaining plates. Like, we need to do something bot side. Oh, WeiWei still wants to keep going.
He's onto Xiaohu. He's done a bit of damage, but I'm not sure that this is going to turn into anything more. It's just going to be Scout getting more damage on the tower, though. This is so many plates going away to LNG.
Which is so surprising that they're still, down in gold. But Light now, with those 2 kills, Essence Reaver online, is a big reason that this is panned out the way it has. Now LNG going to try and get away with taking this Drake. I like that Weibo are posturing in the area because Light's not too far behind.
Well, he's certainly not. And with a Blitzcrank, there's always potential to make some kind of play, even if you just hook the Poppy away from the Dragon to go for a smite yourselves. Here we go. Ult goes in from Light. It's not going to find the Dragon, though. WeiWei grabs it, so that's 1 apiece to start us off.
Yeah, the big difference maker is Scout on the minimap, zoning Xiaohu off from really being able to follow. We're going to get a replay of everything that happened here. Again, it felt like Weibo were starting to be like, hey, guys, we actually really need to do something. Great ult from the Ashe. WeiWei as well, just... I don't know if you really needed to yeet out the Blitzcrank after he pulls you as the Poppy. That probably could have been, the difference maker in helping Gala escape if you still had that online.
Yeah. And WeiWei, good positioning from him at the start of the play where Crisp flashes over the wall. WeiWei just body blocks, makes sure that hook can't connect to Gala.
Yeah.
Really great supportive play from WeiWei and from Mark. And like you said initially, I'm kind of amazed that they still managed to find the kill there. So many summoner spells committed from Weibo to get that kill. But it's so important when you've got a Draven to find those cash-ins, and so far, that's 2 cash-ins already. Obviously the first one, pre-stacks. I think that kill was like 550 gold or something along those lines.
Yeah, it looked like it was something around there. And yeah, you're right, if that didn't happen, I honestly kind of would have been just mauling, honestly. There you are in a bot lane 2v2. You are now down with only 2 plates left. If that tower would have just got outright taken for free without XiaoHao really doing anything, or he was leaning towards bot side, right? There just weren't any angles, but you need to use those TPs. You need to start setting up plays like that, and they finally did. I guess we could also partially blame Chris for, you know, if he had obviously hooked earlier, maybe they would have.
ZDZ doesn't know he's been spotted. This is bad news for Rumble, but look at the damage he's doing to WeiWei. Equalizer still available, but he silenced himself early on, burning through them. Nearly gets a kill in a 4v1.
And still forces 2 summoners, right? Forces the flash from WeiWei, forces the TP coming out from Scout. Still, LNG pick up the kill. They will be able to convert this into a bot lane outer turret as well. So gonna try and catch up in terms of the gold, but now with Weibo having the Herald, you might have a really easy turn towards mid lane. They could expect that the Ashe and Poppy are heading their way, so it doesn't seem like they're gonna go for anything too cost heavy right now, but the option will always be there.
Yeah, not the opportunity right now, but perhaps the blue buff instead. Oh, just about gets it. WeiWei very close to answering there. XiaoHao does grab the buff, denies that from his opponent. And Xiaohu just going to return up to that top side to clear waves. So I think we're going to see resets across Weibo. We've already seen a couple of resets there. I expect XiaoHao to probably go for a reset before we see the follow-up Herald play. But again, so far, decent answer across the map where LNG do get themselves the tier 1 in the bottom lane, but Weibo equally getting the Herald up top.
Yeah, and it looks like Light pretty close to what you would assume is going to be his Ghost Blade next.
Yeah.
That'll be another nice spike going in favor of him. Gala, of course, already sitting on his, trying to make his way towards his next lethality item. And we've seen this so much from XiaoHao, right? Hovering over the wall, hoping the overstep comes through. But it will just lead to Weibo finding some nice vision control. With the fact that Dragon's still not up, not too many plays that are there. That was close, though. That was almost a play.
That was real close, and that would have been a kill, I think, ZDZ, if he'd been, that would have been like a 5-second stun, so he would have been in all kinds of trouble. Does have his equalizer available and protects that control ward. Scout forced away from the bottom side, and ZDZ now essentially on a flank as Crisp is looking to stop Scout escaping. Scout's in big trouble. That's his ultimate. Now on cooldown, Whirling Death. So very close. The equalizer forces the flash.
And just Scout being caught in no man's land, trying to meet back up with his team. And now this is going to give the opportunity that we were just hitting on to drop this Herald in mid. You know the Akali's not going to be able to join up here, so Charge going to be able to come through. Sadly, I don't think there's much more threat than that after you've already used things like the Whirling Death from the Draven. So you don't really have that to try to threaten any more damage to come through.
Crisp does manage to get it onto the tower, but forced to flash within the 4.4 meters there on the hook to get Lyric excited, but not quite finding his mark. And now Drake up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, so theoretically, LNG should have an easier time getting vision here. We can see on the bot wave, Scout obviously coming back from base. He's going to be able to get this one pushed in, so they'll have a point of pressure there, just pushing in mid. But with resets needing to come through from Mark and Gala, actually not going to be able to take advantage of this window.
And I think crucially it's worth mentioning that this is sort of what we expected from the early game between these two teams. Like LNG very happy to play the late game, and Weibo, like half of their wins have been from late game comebacks. They've not been winning through just early game dominance. So not too surprising at the pace of this game, but pleasantly pleased for Weibo that they've not fallen behind early, that they've not got to come back. And I feel like both teams have a reasonable late game composition as well. Like the team fights are going to look pretty scary, although for LNG they sort of want to whittle you down before you ever get into a team fight, but still have that presence to be able to go for a 5v5.
Yeah, and I think now that we have Storm Surge picked up by Scout, again, he could put a lot of pressure on people like Light in terms of being able to walk up and hit objectives, but LNG being smart, they just opted into not picking up this Dragon. They're fine with just trying to get pressure elsewhere. Sadly, not really much else on the map to be able to turn this into. Not even managing to pick up the topside scuttle.
Yeah. I feel like this is a very chill game of Blitzcrank from Crisp. And
yeah,
I don't even say that as a criticism. Like, I feel like a lot of that is a decision from the side of Weibo not to fight right now. There's been a couple of missed hooks, obviously, but generally speaking, I don't think Crisp is actually looking for the fight necessarily, but the way that they're using the Blitzcrank to make sure LNG keep their distance is great to watch, right? LNG have to respect this pick so much, even when Crisp isn't actually throwing out the cues.
But it's also kind of like counterintuitive, right? Because as LNG want to keep that space and keep that distance, at least with who Crisp is around. So LNG might even be thanking him, like, "Hey, thanks for letting us know you're here, and we'll go back to our poke distance and make life's life a living hell to farm."
Yeah, it's always tough on the Draven when you're against these super long-range situations and your Blitzcrank ain't finding the hooks. It's a tough one. The gold lead now down to just 300, although Xiaohu will slightly push it up once again by taking this tower. But yeah, very quiet one as we broach the 20-minute mark here. We've got 2 items on the Draven. We've got 2 items on the Varus as well. Now mid laners have started to head that way. Each of these hooks has been so near, but none of them quite managing to find their mark here. Tower could be in danger in the mid lane. I don't know if they have the wave clear. With Varus, maybe, but the cannon. The one downside of the lethality is cannons have a lot of armor, so it's hard to break through them sometimes.
I'm still just happy to see Weibo finally, group up, try and threaten something, because LNG are going to have a great time inside this game. Like, even if we never really see them opt into a more conventional team fight, Udyr and Akali answering those as an Orianna, as Rumble, is going to be so hard, especially as they just keep getting more and more items. So Weibo's map movements, I think, are really going to be tested. But same thing can be said for LNG, right? Like, are LNG actually going to pull them apart and make them answer these threats? So far, they've been doing a great job. They just need to be able to keep that up.
Yep. So far, so good. Like you say, we'll see if they can keep it up. Lyric, it's been a quiet old day here at the LPL. We are having some real relaxed games. As, the previous game, I think First Blood was at like 25 minutes or something ridiculous.
Something
crazy. This game, we've had First Blood. First Blood was 2 minutes in, but since then, we've had 2 kills within 20 minutes. So it has been a real slow burner. But it does mean that we're entering the sort of mid-game, headed towards the late game, and a relatively even keel right now. 2 minutes until Drake is up. Baron is on the map. WeiWei just about getting away without being spotted there, but Xiaohu's found him anyway. This could get dicey. An arrow goes in, it lands onto the Orianna, and that's a hell of a combo as Scout dives into the action as well, but the Shuriken wide on Xiaohu, and now XiaoHao survives. Shockwave onto 2. XiaoHao still going, but finally falls here. It's like trying to get the damage out, but Zika's too tanky. Here comes ZDZ, and he has blood in his eyes. Equalizer down, but it's not really enough to finish a kill, and it's a double kill for Gala in the meantime.
What a strange fight coming out, honestly, for both sides. LNG obviously being the big winners, taking out XiaoHao and Chris. Not going to be able to convert it into anything, but still, Cold now finally swinging in LNG's direction when they've been the team that's been slightly down this whole time. Crucially, it was Gala, the one getting in on all that action, so we can even see Mark as well picking up his Edge of Night. Now LNG going to be in such a good position going forward, but my God, Joe, to start this off, it looked like Weibo were just doomed. This combo so nice. What a great keeper's verdict. And LNG able to follow up. They keep running down the individual members. Weibo, Gala able to just keep dishing out this damage with the fact that Zika and WeiWei are here frontlining for this. I thought Xiaohu with the ultimate and the Rumble coming in would have been enough. Doesn't drop the equalizer, I think, because of how widespread the area he's in is, but it definitely felt like it could have been a bit better for Weibo with the tools that got used, but it was just so disjointed.
Yeah, it felt like it was going to turn into more, didn't it? It felt like it was going to be a much bigger battle there. Hollow Radiance picked up on both WeiWei and Zika at this point. They're getting real hard to kill. Another arrow lands, but it's not a long stun. Chris does get a pull in, but he's down. They don't need a long stun with the follow-up from Gala's ultimate there. Very nicely done. LNG, another pick for themselves, and this Blitzcrank is not working out for Weibo.
I'm sorry. Oh, that was a good old getting the flash from Mark, but Munch, I will never ask for the Chris Blitzcrank again. I'm sorry.
Nope. Remember that time when I said, hey, this is 1-6 right now? I think it's headed towards 1-7. I don't think the situation's getting any better.
No. And now, I mean, Crit Bloom picked up by Scout. We said how him in a side lane is going to be one of the things that are really just menacing to Weibo. Neither ZDZ or Xiaohu are going to be able to answer him after a point. We've seen in the 1v1, ZDZ still incredibly strong right now, but you're not going to be able to keep up with that mobility that Scout has as he starts to just pick up more and more burst.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with Scout. Like, once you've weathered the early game in this kind of matchup, you know, the first few levels, the Akali can start to really flex now. Like level 14, so we've got 2 points in the ult, almost headed towards that third ult point mark as well. You've got your Storm Surge, you've got your bit of Magic Pen as well in your Crypt Bloom. You're ready to start ruining Light's day. And Light, if I'm you, mate, I'm nervous.
It's also just going to put Weibo in a weird position of where you kind of need XiaoHao constantly hovering for Xiaohu to be either able to push sides or even answer, right? Or he always will be under threat of Scout just looking for that all-in. And Scout will always have help from anywhere on the map. Oh, goes for the all-in now.
Oh, here we go. Opportunity to show what he's made of. Has the ultimate available. Shockwave comes out from Xiaohu. The stun doesn't land, but it just does not matter. A solo kill. And that is why Scout's got all the MVPs.
There was a lot of threat there coming from like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and the Poppy. But like you said, Scout able to dish it out himself at the end of the day.
Big engage coming on through. It's not the greatest target on XiaoHao, but he's still just going to burn on down. But it's a trade of junglers, and everybody else just walks away.
I'm a little bit surprised that Gala was just able to stand in the equalizer, really not care at all, and still put out the damage. Definitely feels like now, compositionally, I'm favoring LNG with where we're at in the game. It looks so hard for Weibo to be able to break through their defenses. Funnily enough, though, the one thing about a Blitzcrank is if there's a misposition on the opposite side, right, that always could be punished, but we're going to get the replay here. Connects with the Shuriken flip. I feel like that was the most important thing. Can now follow up with the movement speed coming from things like the Fleet. And then once the flash gets forced out by the Poppy, it might be a solo kill, but that was so important because it allows him to commit with the ult and follow through with the kill.
Yeah, while he was the only one that got kill credit, like that was very much a team effort. The ult from Mark, like you say, the presence from WeiWei as well. Fantastic stuff, though, from LNG. And most importantly, like, it's not even just about the mechanics there, like, relatively standard Akali play, right?
Yeah.
It's more about finding the opportunity. Xiaohu overpushes in the top side, and immediately Scout is there to punish him.
And it goes back to what I'd even just said right before, right? You are going to need XiaoHao to cover for Xiaohu to even be able to walk up, like, past his Krugs, right? It's going to be so hard for him to safely move forward, unless the other members of LNG are showing on the map. But what does that matter if an Enchanted Crystal Arrow can still just be, you know, thrown across and set up for the kill?
Well, Crisp is going to be the one sunned, and there's the combo coming out from Gala as well. Crisp does get his silence off, gets a knock-up, and there's the equalizer, but the Whirling Death's not going to do enough here. XiaoHao just in the middle of everyone somehow surviving, but I don't know how long this fight can go on for Weibo. Light's still alive, and XiaoHao has a blast code. He's got out, and in the meantime, Scout's forced to flash. Weibo somehow going even in that fight.
Yeah, I have no idea how they weren't able to find the damage or find the access to the back line. CDZ, I guess, just doing enough to zone, but I'm sure we're going to get a replay of that. This will lead Weibo into being able to get this first push down on mid, but considering they already have control wards in bot, I think it just makes sense. Just go for the reset, pick up Scuttle Crab.
Let's see how it all happened again. As the ultimate comes out onto Crisp, and in the meantime, you've got Light being chased down by Zika, but Zika doesn't really threaten the backline in a significant way.
No, and Scout, yeah, Scout just not feeling safe to be able to walk past that Rumble either. Looks like feeling maybe of two minds of like having to also be there to support Gala, but it leaves both teams in a situation where their AD carries aren't really being left threatened. And I guess I'd criticize LNG for that more, considering that you are the team that has this Akali and has the one that wants to be putting that threat there. But at the same time, again, we've seen ZDZ does big damage.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly does. Light does a lot of damage as well. If you're not putting the threat onto him, he is going to shred your team at this point. 3 items finished off. And crucially, has the QSS as well. So it makes it very difficult for him to be the target of Mark's engage, of Gala's follow-up, right? And if he's not the target, it's very difficult to actually get onto him. Like, Udyr can run at him, but Udyr doesn't actually pose that much threat. Aside from that, it's like Scout on a flank. But Scout's kind of squishy when Draven turns his sights onto that Akali. If Chris can find a hook, speaking of, it's going to be a flash forced by Gala. And we will walk away.
Yeah, I think that's a huge win for Weibo now. Really committing nothing for the flash to come through from the Varus. Couldn't be able to follow up on that so easy, but it looks like LNG actually trying to pinch Weibo.
There we go, arrow in, but Light has that QSS. Scout on the backside trying to threaten here. That's big damage across the team. Flash forced, but Weibo, while they're still in retreat, they're also still all alive. Drake spawning, it's 2 apiece so far, and LNG will pick up their third.
I'm surprised LNG actually going to be able to do this. That Poppy had to be like one of the least helpful ultimates there was. Weibo going to pivot towards the Baron. We've seen them do this before. This is how they've won and how they found those comeback victories.
They do it pretty quick with the Rumble damage coming on through. Half HP. Scout is in the area, has his ultimate available as well. A TP into the pit, but it's WeiWei that needs to be here. Smite's still available. They're going to get the Baron, but can they survive as well? Keep your eyes on Light because Scout is threatening. ZDZ already down. The Equalizer not really that great, but Scout goes down himself. It's a huge pickup for Light, a massive injection of gold, and now Zika slowly getting chunked on down as XiaoHao in the back of the pit. He's been ignored. He's still alive. And he gets over the wall! LNG completely dropped the ball!
What was that? That... Oh my god, that was so egregious. How is XiaoHao alive there? I don't even have the words. Just outright being ignored. Huge swing for Weibo. My god, man, how do they keep getting away with this? I love the call on the Baron. Being decisive, saying, hey, we have the damage, run it down. Scout, I think, with a pretty good read, goes in for the burst because ZDZ is already low, and especially being taken out before the Equalizer comes through, that would be massive. But Chris finally connecting with the Blitz Hook, and again, I don't care about the rest of the fight, I just want to see, why?
Oh, they thought the Q had hit, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah?
I don't know, they just thought it was guaranteed, I guess. Really weird one, really weird one. But hey, Weibo get themselves a fight. Look, XiaoHao is thanking his lucky stars. He's kissing his rosary, and he's returning to the game once more. 3.5 minutes till the next Drake. That'll be sold. But Baron now for 1.5 minutes in the pocket of Weibo. Let's see what they can do with it.
You know, I'm just happy that this keeps happening. Because because you pushed us to make these tier lists, right? And kind of have this fun little competition between LPL casters. I predicted Weibo would win. I didn't have a great, foundation for that before, but now I'm convinced Weibo will Baron their way to an LPL title. They will flip their way to being LPL champions, and I am all for it.
I'm ready for it. I'm here for that storyline. I have forgotten to tweet that tier list, so I will do that today after the broadcast. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, guys. But I just want to mention as well, in that previous fight, Chris finding the hook onto Scout, and we get to see what happens to Scout. Ooh, close one on the arrow. I'm gonna hold my breath on that one as another hook lands. Zika, not really the target that you want, but Magnet Storm actually committed by XiaoHao here. Zika's still full health. There is no one that's doing any damage.
This was a very questionable sequence from Weibo. The hook's great, getting some initial damage down is great. Do we need to commit the Magnet Storm or Equalizer? Feels like a bit of a waste. And that's really going to give you a lot less threat in terms of the sieges coming through, right? Because a lot of ways you see that Equalizer used is thrown on top of the AD carries now when they're trying to protect these turrets. Now that opportunity isn't there.
See double spell shield on the duo AD carry bot lane from LNG here. Trying to keep themselves safe from a potential shockwave. Oh, but Scout is doing things in the backside here. LNG engaged the fight to set up for this flank, but they might have gone in too soon here. Gets a heal onto Chris as Xiaohu flashes forward for the shockwave, and the whirling death flies through the roster of LNG. And all Scout can do with the flank is clear a minion wave. It's disaster again.
This is why 9 years in the LPL, right?
He's herding him. He's corralling him into a corner. Scout should get away with this one.
Does manage to make it out alive. Yeah, he's going to have enough mobility to escape at the end of the day. On the bottom side of the map, though, Light and Xiaohu still pushing this one forward.
All right, Lyric, I want you to pretend that didn't happen and talk to me about the 9 years in LPL. Get me hype.
No. We don't care about the 9 years right now. Scout's going down.
Boy. Scout is in all kinds of trouble. See you later, buddy. Drake coming up in a minute as well, and Weibo, this late game has once again come up trumps for them.
Yeah, I love the play coming through with Weibo, looking for the aggression, actually getting onto LNG first. LNG, like you said, had a great idea with the flank from Scout, but just getting caught too early. And Xiaohu with the plays. If you missed out again, 9 years in the league, Weibo celebrating that anniversary earlier on Twitter. And yeah. It's just great to see, like you said, not only in the league for so long, still an absolute stud on the Rift as well.
And this is the hard thing about playing against Orianna, right, is even if you've got the spell shield from the Edge of Night, the Q procs that before the shockwave. So if he hits the Q, he's still going to get you. Massive damage coming out. And Xiaohu on the cusp of breaking all of the statistics right now. Orianna is 0-12 in the LPL, and right now, Weibo 6k gold up. Can Xiaohu be the man to break Orianna's funk?
Xiaohu gonna give Orianna a win. Again, Chris gonna double his amount of Blitzcrank wins if they're able to bring this one home. Both teams are in soul point, though. We definitely aren't counting LNG out just yet. I mean, like we said, right, with the Akali, there's still a ton of threat there. Sadly, just has been these like little coordination issues. I guess last time it was also just getting outright caught out by the hook by Chris, but yeah, a lot of these small things are really what's biting LNG. Overall, like their plans and their ideas, again, they've been pushing out sides, they've been looking for these angles. It's just really down in the details with what they're struggling with.
And I just love that, like, all game, Crisp had been a little bit sideways with the hooks, like he'd not really been finding them. And then these last couple of fights, he gets the hook onto Scout that sets him up for the pick onto the Akali. He gets the hook onto WeiWei that sets them up for the fight that leads to their third Drake. Like, suddenly, he started to get these hits. You know, we'd already said, you know, this is going to be a 1-7 Blitzcrank now. Apparently, Crisp has woken up.
I just don't know how Weibo do it. Like, it actually is crazy, you know. And okay, so
the coffee's kicked in. That's what happened.
We can predict how game 2 will go if Weibo win. If Weibo win, they will, I guess not stomp, but convincingly win game 2. That's how every Weibo series has gone so far. If Weibo lose, we are in uncharted territory. We have no idea what's going to happen.
Uncharted territory is my favorite kind of territory, I have to say. But it is feeling like Weibo could be in with a chance here of getting themselves their 5th game win in a row up against LNG. But LNG certainly not out of the running just yet. The one thing I will say, this lethality Varus, it will start to fall off at this point of the game. Now we're getting to full builds. I mean, like literally already full build at this stage.
Yeah, he'll be able to stain up, like, past that poke. We do have a flank ward for Scout. He's going for the recall, so we're going to keep our eyes on the Akali.
Ult in onto Chris. I don't know if it's enough, and pull back onto Zika again. I don't know if it does anything. Scout in the back line, turns golden. Chris, 1 HP, and he's taken down by Scout. But can they finish this Akali off? Can they deal with it? Scout just gets annihilated. Where did he go? It's like a magic trick as XiaoHao chasing down on his horsey, but he can't close the gap at this point. It's 4v4. It's the most extended fight I've seen in ages, but they just can't close the gap.
No, not being able to do it. So LNG are going to take advantage, try and get this poke down. But again, you traded a mid laner for a support. Weibo's still feeling comfortable.
Certainly not. Xiaohu has his ult available. Poke coming out from Gala as XiaoHao looks for the way in, but it's a sombrero from Xiaohu. And that is going to dissuade the Baron play. Arrow goes a little bit wide. There are 3 control wards in that brush from Weibo. I don't know why there's 3 control wards in the pixel brush. I guess they were just afraid of the Akali.
Poke is just too much to deal with. I'm a bit more surprised we didn't see XiaoHao go, you know, more aggressive there, considering that he does have his flash and ult up. But not willing to take the Varus poke makes sense. We're going to go all the way back here. Again, trying to set up with Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They're bringing Scout in on the flank and hoping to buy time for that. I'm most curious about how XiaoHao is able to buy... Oh! Xiao just gets yeeted out by Wave. I was wondering where he was this whole time. Scout does find the pick on Blitzcrank, but sadly, it's not really that meaningful. Oh, we're going right back into the Baron dance.
Okay, here we go. 5v5. Zika moving forward to try and get space for his team. Weibo struggling to maintain their position as they move to the mid lane, fight for that wave priority, but it's going to be neither team really with priority. It's just going to be the waves cleared away in that mid lane, but Weibo with control of the river for now.
XiaoHao just has not been able to connect with that stun to find any targets to engage on. Going to try and play around the vision denial right now. If they walk too far forward, you can always drop an equalizer set up with a magnet storm following the flash.
Here we go, XiaoHao. Again, looking for these angles, but not quite able to close the gap. And I feel like that I've said that sentence a few times here, where this LNG composition is very good at kiting Weibo, who need to kind of just run forwards. Like the rel engage really is just sort of running at the enemy unless you find some kind of flank.
I gotta
Break
give
up in
kudos.
30 seconds.
I gotta give kudos to LNG for that too, because I feel like we've seen a few teams like play compositions that needed to poke, needed to outrange, really needed to keep that distance. Right? We can think of a lot of the quirky games we've seen so far in LPL, which I feel like haven't been that inspiring. LNG have probably been the most disciplined team at like respecting what they need to do. Problem is, now this is going to be the fight for Seoul. It's going to be really hard to avoid getting up close and personal with Weibo.
Scout in the brush. There aren't 3 control wards in this one. But he'll be spotted by ZDZ. The spell shield keeps ZDZ safe from the shuriken flip. Buying space for his team here. ZDZ is not afraid of Scout at this point. He's quite happy to push in towards the enemy mid laner. XiaoHao hitting away at this Drake. 6,000. 50-50 from Mount Soul could be devastating, but he's knocked away. It's not a 50-50 now as Light has to go for the cleanse. Into the pit they go, they're burning through it, and it's WeiWei to grab it. Soul for the side of LNG, and they get themselves 1-for-1 in the kills as well. XiaoHao in the middle of everyone, but Light still going strong. Chunked out, slowed down, stunned, but still catching axes, still throwing them back. Weibo walk away with 1 casualty, but it's LNG that get themselves to Soul and ping on towards the Baron.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't go to those types of 50-50s when you are against the Poppy, so now, they're just going to be so tanky. It's going to be so hard, the members of Weibo, to take them down. Just going to get some vision for now, not feeling that confident in being able to start this one up, obviously without their jungler being alive. And even, I mean, Akali mid lane, lethality 80 carries, makes a lot of sense. Just get the vision control back off.
It certainly does. And it's tense now. It's tense for Weibo. They lost the Mountain Soul. Can they get themselves the Baron? Scout sticking around in the area. Lets them know that he's there as well, so that they're not quite so confident about trying to move in and remove any vision that LNG has. Not that LNG really have any vision.
No, not even going to be willing to risk the potential poke coming through. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a replay of the last fight, because I don't know if you noticed, but there was kind of a moment where Gala was alone in the pit by himself, and once again, Weibo didn't really acknowledge him at all. I don't know how we have both teams doing that today.
Look, bigger fish to fry, okay, Lyric? We got big things on the agenda, apparently.
Bigger fish to fry than Gala?
I mean, he's not a fish. He's a human being, okay?
That's true.
We're talking salmon right here. We're talking carp. Zika gonna use his passive there. Use the CC immunity, but Crisp doesn't go for the hook in the end. Flash available on that Blitzcrank, so you've got to be a little bit careful on LNG, but I don't know, the spell shields on both Mark and Gala does make it difficult for Crisp to find a target.
He pretty much has to pull one of the frontliners, right? Like, it feels so hard. They do this so fast.
This is just going to be done. WeiWei is trying to find a way over, but the Baron is already gone. Can they find the fight as well is the question. They're missing Crisp, but honestly, Blitzcrank doesn't really do that much in a team fight.
No. Honestly, that was best case scenario for Weibo. Get the Baron, Crisp, I mean, really only good to even attempt to throw out the hook. LNG trying to make best of the situation by keeping Scout pressuring down in bot side. But Weibo love this now, once again, gonna look for the siege.
Yeah, and lethality Varus, you've got a lot of wave clear, but not against the Baron. It's really difficult to get through these waves.
Oh, flank!
On the side of LNG. Here we go. Flank from Scout. This needs to be better than last time. Last time, the fight happened before he could get there. Weibo, they must suspect something's coming. And there we go. They've seen Scout now. They're just going to run at him. They're just going to try and start the fight on Scout themselves. As Zika goes in, Scout retreating on the top side. Xiaohu half HP. Arrow hits onto Light and he uses the QSS. He's okay for now.
Oh.
The Scout is just being burnt to death by ZDZ. The flame spitter, but Scout dashes away. Equalizer. Just a hair away, and in the meantime Zika has gone down. I don't know how they keep doing it, Lyric, but Weibo were doing it.
If ZDZ had thrown that out like a second earlier, I think this would have been game. They might be able to hold on with the fact that they still have the Akali up. We'll see though. Weibo.
The problem is Scout doesn't have his ultimate. He doesn't have flash available.
Right,
I don't know how much he can really offer to a fight here.
Oh, it'll be up soon if they can buy a bit of time with this. Okay, it looks like they should be able to. Oh, sadly, Zanya's not up as well. You're right, actually. It's going to be really hard for Scout to find anything, even if he does have his ult up.
I think they're still in the game. I don't think Weibo can end the game.
Oh!
Oh, Chris flushes in the shockwave and Scout is eradicated. Weibo, they want this done and dusted, and they might just have their wish
Equalizer's
right
coming
now.
up too. Equalizer's about to be up. ZDZ can just drop that one. Should give them free race.
Oh, Chris wants an MVP. Disastrous early game from him, but the hooks in the late game have been immaculate. Zika moves in to try and clear the wave, but the equalizer underneath Gala burning on through. That's all of the waves gone. Mark gets 2 shot by Light, and you know what, Weibo? They want the bonus kills. They want everything after this 44-minute slog. Weibo win game 1.
I'm just saying, I am offended you haven't put out those tier list power rankings yet, because Weibo have the sauce. I don't know where they got this sauce from or what it really does other than lead you to do these crazy Barons that other teams just aren't prepared for whatsoever. And like, my God,